And yes, we'll laugh, we'll laugh, we'll laugh. Let me just get this done real quick. Sure. Hello, everybody. I see Big Boy just left a comment saying that Rich's character, David Mason, can be part of Modern Warfare storyline. Well, to our surprise and disappointment, Treyarch just did that. They just added it to the Modern Warfare universe, same as Woods, same as the whole Black Ops thing, which, in my opinion, it's a big boy. In my opinion, uh, they shouldn't have. They should just said that Cold War is an alternate line of Black Ops, and then you can actually create a new storyline with Modern Warfare. Not saying that it's a, uh, a prequel to Black Ops 2, because if you do that, you're forcing you're forcing all in. It's like right now what's with Disney Star Wars. Everything that you make between episodes 6 and 7 has to end on episode 7, and we know that storyline is just it's just a mess, and we don't like, and we as fans don't like it. I already said it out in the open. For me, Star Wars is episode 1 and 6, and that's it. For very simple reasons, Disney just fucked up. So, how do we make this? How do we adapt this into the Modern Warfare storyline? How can we put Commander Mason, Harper, Salazar, even Crosby? How can we put all those four together in Modern Warfare 2, or even have a mention? Because um, how would they put on Black Ops 3 and Modern Warfare together? It doesn't make sense. It's complicated enough. I understand it, but Treyarch said it was a soft reboot and it meshes with the Modern Warfare reboot storyline. I think they were just, like Ink Slasher said on the James C. Burns stream, Sergeant's Corner, you better be there. They actually messed up, and they are going to rewrite a lot of stuff to the point that it's the storyline is just messed up. So I think they need to actually come out and say, "Hey, we're going to reboot Black Ops 2," because if you look at Black Ops 2 right now, the technology that they have compared to what we have right now, that it's Modern Warfare, um, doesn't add up. It's too much of a gap, and you haven't set up Odysseus. You haven't even introduced Admiral. I think it's Admiral Reigns. You haven't introduced uh, neither David Mason, nor Harper, nor Salazar, nor Crosby. So uh, in the next game, they actually have to introduce it to a way that it feels natural and that it goes into the progression. And Warzone, Warzone right now, it's Cold War. It's going to be Cold War, even though you have the Modern Warfare setup and it's just Modern Warfare, but it looks like it's moving towards Cold War. The zombie event is like they also meshed it up with the zombie storyline. I'm not sure what if it is Activision. Uh, or if it is a Treyarch that is messing up the storyline that Modern Warfare set up. Because if we look at Modern Warfare, uh, for how it is, just with Warzone, not with the Cold War, nothing. The storyline was going to be just about Price and Sakaev. After what happened over there was going to be the setup for Modern Warfare 2. But Treyarch, because they had to rescue sledgehammers and they had to think with a cool storyline, I think they messed up in the sense of where they say, "Oh no, no, this is with Modern Warfare." It's like, yes, I understand it, but then they fucked up saying that this is the prequel to Black Ops 2. Uh, that was a part that everybody was like, "No, you just fucked up." If it is a divergent one, let's say you diverge a little from what was Black Ops 2 storyline and create a new Black Ops 2 storyline that meshes up correctly with Modern Warfare's reboot, then we can understand it because now you're making Modern Warfare 2019 uh, a very unique game, and that will be it. And that's not the case. You're actually destroying a franchise by imposing another franchise, and you can't do that. You can't do that, and they have to rewrite it. And so we have to look at the main character of Black Ops 2. Many say that it's Alex Mason and Frank Woods, but the main character of the game is actually David Mason, because the overarching story, because Black Ops 3, we know it's a messed up. The overarching story of the Black Ops franchise is Alex Mason and Frank Woods' story. But we all know how it goes about it in Black Ops 3, and they tried to rearrange it in Black Ops 4. James C. Burns even uh, did it, but hey. Anyways, I think if they're going to introduce these characters in the Modern Warfare 2, they have to actually, I think, instead of being like commander, make David Mason like a lieutenant, or yeah, like a lieutenant, and have him, I don't know, like I want to say like side missions, but since the introduction of side missions, it has actually affected the campaign directly, and I think side missions were relevant in Infinite Warfare because Infinity War wanted a straight line story. The side missions don't affect it, even though they're cool, but they don't affect the overarching story. And I think it was somewhat of a good decision. But hey, who knows? They could have made it better. But yeah, if you look at Black Ops 2, if you don't do the side missions, you get the bad end. And so I understand of them wanting alternate endings, but this ain't Mass Effect. I mean, Mass Effect can you can do it, and it doesn't affect the whole story. Just your character's progression and who has relationships with. But hey, so if you're going to introduce David Mason, make it so as a lieutenant, as someone that Price already knows, or at least has heard of that he is very good. Like, oh yeah, he's following the footsteps of his father. It's just so that we have a disagreement on how to do stuff. Like he's by the book, and I'm not so by the book. Similar to what Thorne's character is in Modern Warfare. If you look at his backstory, uh, he was with Captain Price, and he had disagreements with him, and he left his squad in order for him to join Charlie's squad, and that's a very good one. Because if you introduce him in Warzone as a buying character or as a seasoned character, um, we're not gonna get a whole lot of story about him, even though he's one of the main characters of the Black Ops franchise. And I think it's important to actually introduce it correctly in a campaign. So you have to like readjust your Modern Warfare 2 campaign because the main villain in the OG Modern Warfare 2 was Makarov and General Shepard. You obviously kill General Shepard, but General Shepard is just mentioned once, and that's in the ending of the Modern Warfare reboot. That's it. I think because of how the campaign had this story, I think the bad guy is not going to be General Shepard. It's going to be Colonel Harris. Yeah, I think it's his name. Yeah, but it's going to be that guy. Um, because if you actually Price gets mad at Colonel Norris. Sorry. Yeah. So I think the bad guy is going to be Colonel Norris, more so because of the way that he treated Farr's troops, and he was like happy that yeah, I get to kill this one as well, almost like an American Barkov. Because when I was explaining in my video in my first stream about Modern Warfare 2019's campaign, is that Barkov is not so much of a bad guy, like a general like excuse. It's more so like he has this anger towards these people uh, of Middle Eastern. More so, I think he has like scars in the past because of his rank and the way he treats not only Farah but the way that he was directing his soldiers to massacre anyone outside. It seems more so he has some resentment over there. I'm not sure why it wasn't explored a little bit, but yeah, it was more so about that. And I think they grab um, the views of the American people in the Afghanistan and Iraq war as his views because remember many of American populations were very hostile against Middle Easterns. Didn't matter if they were American born or not, or just refugees from the war. But going back a little bit, so you have to show the backstory of Mason. He can't just like, oh, insert Mason. It's like, Mason. Here you are. It's like, yeah, but how did he become commander? How did he met Harper and Salazar and Crosby? How did he met Admiral Rains? Because we arrived in Black Ops 2 and those relationships are already established. Uh, we just know that he's trying to capture Menendez, and through the whole campaign, you start discovering Mason's story. That's in Black Ops 2. I mean, we can do that, but in Modern Warfare 2, if you're going to add him as a lieutenant, as a side mission, like, oh, he's in charge of going after Menendez, and we have information about Menendez and Sakaev, collabing together, and not so much, Victor, since we saw him die, but I think much more of Inram Sakaev, his the OG bad guy of Modern Warfare. So it's like, oh, he was trying to collab with Menendez, but we 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 stopped him, and we have information about Menendez. Okay, give this to Lieutenant David Mason. You can actually add it as a side mission, but not so much that affects the campaign. It's almost like you want to play as David Mason and how he begins his relationship with Harper and Salazar and Crosby, and even Admiral Rains. I mean, it's 2025. You can make him what, Vice Admiral? or yeah, or that he's is his first mission against with not against with Admiral Rains. It's like Lieutenant. Hello. I heard a lot about your father's legacy. I'm hoping you're as good as he is. Because we see it through the campaign. He's trying to be better than his father, almost, because he knows the legend that he was in the Navy. Well, not so much in the Navy, but you know what I mean. On the military, he was such a legend, employed by CIA and special operations and everything. So he actually is the legend among them, but he has to live with it, and actually having Price by his side, or at least another OG to actually guide him. That would be also awesome, because then you say, oh, okay, so he's uh, not only going with his footsteps, but also guiding by the guiding hand of Captain Price on how not to make his father's mistakes, but more so be better than him. And then you can actually make the Black Ops 2 reboot, saying, "Oh well, Price taught me this. Price told me that." Frank, even though he's old and he's telling me all the stories about him and my father, I'm starting to notice that, oh, it's similar, and Menendez can actually plan against this, and I can adjust. You see where I'm getting at? If you introduce him as a lieutenant, not as a commander, if you introduce him as a lieutenant, with him barely knowing Harper, Salazar, and Crosby, and even Admiral Rains, you can actually put Price and even Ghost in a sense of way to actually guide him towards being better, not to follow the shadow of his father because he would follow the same mistakes, but more so like, I can tease Menendez that I'm following the same procedures as my father and Frank Woods, and then I just capture him by doing something that he doesn't expect. And even though Menendez plans against that, but it's not as effective because he has the guidance of someone else. And I think that that would be a very much character progression of a new Mason. I'm not sure if they're going to bring back Rich McDonald on his character, or even bring the other characters that portray Harper, Salazar, and Crosby, because Activision just replaced all of the OG actors in this new Black Ops Cold War, and that's actually a shame. I mean, so many missed opportunities that even James has said himself. Of, oh, I could have said this, and there will be a callback to other games, or change this in order to sound more badass. But mm, I think they went for the freaking cheap version of it. I mean, no disrespect, they're trying to perform as best as they can. It's just, if you're going to imitate a guy, then just bring the original guy back. That's it. If it's going to be something new, a new take on the character, you're like, oh well, that's understandable. More so like what Barry Sloan. Everybody was like, no, he's going to imitate Price, and then we see the campaign, and he's not imitating. He's taking a new approach of the new Price because it's a new era, a different situation, a different storyline, but still it's the same character, just taken a bit differently. So that's actually what they should have done, but we're not Activision. So, anyways, I think if you introduce him as a lieutenant in Modern Warfare 2, just like a helping hand, or hey, there's a mission in Sakaev. They say Sakaev is here, and then you find information about Menendez and Sakaev trading, arms. You're like, oh shit, this is your information, Lieutenant Mason. And like, you can go and do this side mission. We're going to go and capture Sakaev, or in this case, Makarov, because then you can diverge it, and then okay, Modern Warfare this side and Black Ops back on track, like separate again, and that would actually help both franchises, both Infinity War and Treyarch, as developers, to focus just on their storyline instead of just uh, trying to see where they can mesh together. It's like, no, make it Modern Warfare 2 the last time that they meet and have different paths. Uh, but since you have integrated Cold War as a storyline for the reboot, you have to actually introduce Mason as a lower rank, him meeting his three new pals, and how the chemistry is been building. So, and I think it would be more so understandable as the fact that okay, he's a lieutenant as Navy SEAL. Why is he putting together Harper and Salazar as his team? Because even though Navy SEALs group themselves in real life as a unit that they choose, it's like, oh, these guys will be perfect in this unit. It's like, okay, but if you see in the storyline, it's only just four of them, when in actuality, there are more. I think there's like 10, 12. It's a squad, but they're just a fire team. So where's the rest of the fire team of the squad of David Mason? We don't see it. It's just three guys. Crosby is like whatever until um, the Obama gets destroyed, the carrier. So you have to actually generate this. It's like, oh, we're this squad and we got cut down to four. Make it a mission in Modern Warfare 2. Like that would be a way. It's like, hey, uh, I don't know. Alpha 2 is taking heavy casualties. Please save us over here in this mission. You go save him, and you are, hey, it's Lieutenant David Mason uh, with Harper, Salazar, and Crosby just surviving four. And you're like saving them, and then you take a mission together with him and actually attack that compound of Sakaev's men that has information about Makarov, and then you find out that Makarov is trading with Menendez, and then you give the information to Mason, and it's like, oh, I know your father. He was hunting down this guy. It's like, yeah. It's like, oh, well, this is your job. This is your intel. Good luck. We're going for Makarov. Or we're going to go in this mission with you to hunt Menendez, and then they found information about Makarov over there. Like, they see them both together. You see where I'm getting at? Even though I'm giving some ideas to Infinity Ward and Treyarch to how to do Modern Warfare 2, build this chemistry, not just in cutscenes, but through the campaign and playable missions. Make it so that they grow together and that at the end they diverge and get separate. Like Modern Warfare Reboot is this storyline separate from uh, Black Ops in order to reestablish what it has been. It's like they're separate. The way to actually join the storylines is that if you not a soft reboot, uh, but more so establishing something that Cold War tried to do and failed. If that's what I'm getting at, they failed on establishing uh, storylines that are connected with the new Modern Warfare. Because okay, there's Imran Sakaev, but there's actually no mention when you go and visit the KGB. There's no mention of General Barkov or not even uh, like a colonel or a major Barkov. And so, how is this real? It's just because of Sakaev? Is that's only the only tie? It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant at this point. So They just messed it up, and that would be a very goal opportunity. It's just like, oh, so we have established how to introduce David Mason and his team. How do we introduce um how do we introduce them into Warzone? Well, we have to actually wait and see what they do with Verdansk, if they're going to destroy the map or if they're going to I don't know, save. I'm not sure what they're going to do. We have to wait and see. Uh, it seems more so that they're going to the Yamantau Mountains on that sector in order for them to actually just continue the story, but it will be more so Black Ops Cold War. So we would have to actually wait and see more so on what they continue with the Modern Warfare situation. If they're going to take like a back step and then just wait until their new game is ready. I don't know. One thing is for certain, and they have talked about, is that it seems like the new World War II game that Sledgehammer is developing, it's not going to be integrated to Warzone. It's going to be like its own game, and that's it. That's a relief. That's actually a fucking very good relief because Sledgehammer has a track of developing awful games. Even though it has just two, but I count three because of the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer. They messed up so many stuff on not just on map and some map designs, but more so certain factors that just pissed off a lot of people. And oh well, I just hope that it's decent. I'm not gonna buy it, or I think I'm just gonna rent the game and just play the campaign. That will be it. If it is World War II, I'm very tied to World War II because I like that part of history because it's not also how the U.S. got involved, but more so what they were trying to uncover of Nazi experiments and scientists to spill the beans. Because not much of the experiments that the Nazis held we know about. Many of the scientists didn't want to reveal the secrets, or they did, but they're so classified that we don't know it as public. But it doesn't tie it up to Black Ops nor Modern Warfare, and it doesn't help us on David Mason. Much certainly, it doesn't help us to actually see the relationship between Frank Woods and David Mason before Mason is a commander. It's more so like if you remember from Black Ops 2, it's like, oh, he knows he lives here and that's it. But what's should be instead of being in a retirement home, he should be, I don't know, I would like to say like in a security house instead of there in a retirement home. Uh, he should be in a security house being a consultant of what Menendez can think about certain operations of Navy SEALs and even David Mason, his character as a lieutenant, just trying to find him or give him clues about it. But hey, because it almost seems in Black Ops 2, if you see it, he's just relevant in that period of time. It's like, why? Why relevant now and not when they're not before? What is it? Did he went cold and then they just he was a consultant and they couldn't track him, then they sent him to a retirement home and that's it? And there's another thing that I think they need to explore a little bit more. Um, that I think James C. Burns would actually like is the fact that you can actually explore the relationship between Frank Woods and Menendez. Not so much that Menendez blows up Sarge's knees with a Spas 12, but post that event is because at the start of Black Ops 2, you see that Menendez just enters there casually, and instead of Frank going apeshit, uh, even though he's in a wheelchair, he's more so like, "Hey, old buddy." Even though they're like frenemy, they seem like frenemies. So I'm interested in if they actually add a cutscene or showcase this as a I don't know, like a very brief flashback in how Menendez and Frank Woods became frenemies after '85 when Menendez blows up the niece of Sarge. And how is it that he hasn't appeared again with David Mason, or at least trying to give him flashbacks of that night? That would be very interesting, even though it's more so in the Modern Warfare game. But you can actually make it like side missions, and trying to just diverge both franchises again. Or the other way that you can do it is in Warzone, like Big Boy was saying, almost like introducing them in Warzone, but actually more so like intel missions. Like, oh, this if you choose David Mason as your operator in Warzone, or Harper or Salazar, or even Crosby, you can do this, and you can only do these intels as them as Black Ops in order for the divergence. And then if you choose a Modern Warfare character, make the divergence of intel with them. Almost like separation. Because I know what they were trying with the integration, but they just messed up and say Black Ops 2 is the continuation. It's just too much of a technological gap. But that would actually help in the divergence. Actually, in doing side missions or adding in intel missions in Warzone, or you can actually, we got to talk about Spec Ops, Modern Warfare, and that would actually help. They have to a lot of fix in Spec Ops, but if they do it in Modern Warfare 2, you can actually do it with David Mason. You introduce David Mason as a lieutenant in the campaign in one or two missions together. You can play as him, I think, if you want to make it like the last cooperation between two studios and merging stories, and then just Spec Ops, story of David Mason hunting down information of Menendez, and then in the cutscenes you can actually introduce the backstory of Menendez and Frank Woods being frenemies, because it almost seems that way when they're frenemies. So, and yeah, that would be a very good one. A very good way to actually introduce David Mason. Just in a campaign brief, one or two missions, like touch, but not light touch, nor deep touch. Just like, oh, touch, one, two missions, boom, you're gone. It's all Modern Warfare from here. Turek does his thing, and then you do your stuff separately. No, there's no reason to mesh them up. They just messed up. Um, and that actually helps introduce the relationship that David Mason has with Harper, Salazar, and Crosby. If you actually do it in Spec Ops, like this side missions about Menendez, and more so his old facilities, going explore, and they have PMCs. Um, then you go in and have encounters against the is the SDF, yeah, the SDF of China, with this General Lau. It's like, oh, hey, General Lau. It's like, oh, you you look a lot like a certain guy. It's like, yes, uh, I'm his son. It's like, oh, okay. Because if you see General Lau and David Mason in Black Ops 2, they it seems like they know each other. Like they have seen each other. Well, not regularly, but they know each other. And it's like, oh, I know. They speak like they know each other. And he lets him off the hook. He's like, "Oh, you're after Menendez." I'm like, "Yeah, we're after Menendez." Like, "Oh, okay." But they actually know that they're going. That Lau is partnering up with Menendez in order to take down part of the part of the Eastern world. So it's like, oh, we got to stop you also. But how do you build up the suspense? Well, Spec Ops and Modern Warfare 2 can be dedicated to David Mason, have flashbacks of it. You just introduce him in the campaign 1 or 2 missions, and then they just do their own thing. And then in Spec Ops, you have the missions in Spec Ops dedicated to Lieutenant Mason, not Commander, Lieutenant. At the end of Spec Ops missions, then he's a commander, and then he knows that Menendez is going to visit Frank Woods, and then you just go in and have the introduction cutscene of Black Ops 2 go in. It's like, hey, we're heavily armed. Harper Salazar, help me this. Crosby, stay on point if Menendez goes on. Boom. That would be it. That would be the perfect ending in the Spec Ops for David, like new Commander Mason. Because then you have built a relationship between the two characters. Well, not the two, the three characters. Crosby is almost like a meh. But you have built it. So that would be a very interesting way. And that would be actually a very natural way to introduce Black Ops characters in Modern Warfare and Spec Ops. Because Warzone, we know Warzone is a battle royale, it's plunder. They should really just add zombie mode. It was like not so much like the in the event that we had in Halloween, more so the fact of the 150. And if your team dies, it's like gulag, and then you respawn. But there's zombies all around. Whoever's the last team, um, actually, yeah, and there's circles. So there's zombies spawning, and then you have to kill them. But they're fat. They're like the zombies that we had in the event, not this ones, more so the other ones. And so that would be that would be awesome. 150 players battling each other plus zombies that they're spawning in. Good luck and being the last team. But yeah, now that I have explained how David Mason can be integrated through the campaign briefly on Modern Warfare and actually make it through like Spec Ops, dedicate Spec Ops to David Mason, there would be no problem. I would have no problem because it's like, yeah, if you want like the continuation, yeah, because Warzone right now for continuation is fucked up, and so I think this is a quick one more so of what how to introduce Richard's character uh, in Modern Warfare because it's the only way that I can see it. You cannot introduce it in place of Gary Roach Sanderson for the simple reason that Roach is a very crucial character on the Modern Warfare series because he's the one that you go through Task Force 141. And David Mason is not part of Task Force 141. Neither this Harper, neither Crosby, neither Salazar. You have to introduce them separately, and in one or two missions, like, oh, I find intel, I rescue David Mason. Well, you rescue David Mason's group, and then you go together and find intel on Makarov, but it's about him and Menendez. It's like, oh, Menendez is here. You go and hunt him. Uh, and Spec Ops, in order for him to, it's like the chemistry that he has in Modern Warfare. Like, that would be a very good way to actually just continue. It's like you want to continue the story of David Mason, go to Spec Ops and actually make very good missions of Spec Ops. Not impossible, just good missions of you choosing David Mason or Salazar or Harper or Crosby, and you're guided not by cadence. It's like, oh, we have a drone surveilling over here. We can see this, and like, oh, okay, we're going in. And it's like, oh, we require support. Oh, we're sending in an Apache, or we're sending in an airstrike, because that would make Spec Ops very good again, and then it can help set up narratives. What they were trying to do in Modern Warfare 2019, continue the story through Spec Ops, but they failed and they had to transfer it to Warzone. And I think Spec Ops can be salvageable in that and storytelling, but don't make it like the continuation of the campaign. Make it so more to introduce new characters for the next campaign. And we can actually take Spec Ops and do it for David Mason as a lieutenant, and then at the end of Spec Ops, like I said, make him a commander. But anyways, I know it seems like ramble, but it's more so trying to give ideas on how they can do it, and I just gave a perfect example on how to do it in a mission where everything goes haywire. You go and save this Navy SEAL team. You find out that it's uh, David's team. You save and you have a joint operation. You find intel. He goes and does his thing. You go and do yours. And the story of David Mason continues on Spec Ops of Modern Warfare 2. Because then you can have just classic Spec Ops like separate. And then if you want to introduce him in Warzone, you just add him as, oh, you want to play as David Mason, finish Spec Ops. You want Crosby to finish this mission. You want Harper to finish this mission. You want Salazar to finish this mission in Spec Ops. And then you have them over there. And then you can introduce all the bundles you want. So that would be it, and it would actually help introduce new weapons. Even though it would be like I said, they have to diverge. They have to diverge. The story of Modern Warfare Reboot and Black Ops are not measurable. And you cannot do it. The storyline, it's not for that, because they messed up. They messed up. Instead of saying, oh, we're gonna reboot Black Ops, the Black Ops franchise from Cold War onwards, it's like, oh, okay. It would have mattered more, because then you can have the two together fighting. Like, you can have in Modern Warfare 3, it's like we have a chance to actually hunt down both of them. And Menendez escapes, and that's Black Ops. No, I messed up. And Modern Warfare 2, and then you have Black Ops 2, and then you hunt down Menendez, and you have him in Modern Warfare 3. It's just the end of the Black Ops Modern Warfare, but they messed it up. So there will be no Black Ops 3, because Black Ops 3, there's no villain tied to the Black Ops franchise. It's stupid. But anyways, this is actually a little bit quicker than I thought. But hey, it was not supposed to be a long one. It was supposed to be an explanation of how it can be introduced, Mason and his team into the Modern Warfare franchise. And I think, speaking a little bit about it, how to introduce Menendez. I think they haven't mentioned him, neither through Modern Warfare campaign, obviously, but not neither through Warzone. I think the only way that they can introduce Menendez through it is through Cold War and the new map, and that would be it. But since it has no mention neither in Warzone Modern Warfare, I think it's going to just be oblivious. So you have to mention Menendez in Modern Warfare 2 in order for David Mason go on hunt on his own, and Price goes and hunts Makarov on his own, and that would be it. That would be the only mention of him in the Modern Warfare reboot campaigns. But hey, I wish I knew what Activision was doing. I'm just giving ideas on how to actually clean it and diverge it, how to actually properly introduce someone of the Black Ops series in Modern Warfare. Because I like David Mason. David Mason is a very good character. It's just if we could get more of his story as how did he become a commander, how he knew Harper, how he built that relationship with Salazar, with Crosby, even Admiral Reigns, because they all seem pals in Black Ops 2, but we don't see how that relationship came to be. And I think if you use Modern Warfare to introduce him in one or two missions and then dedicate Spec Ops for that, that would be sweet as fuck. And it would be a perfect character setups for a reboot of Black Ops 2 if they choose to reboot Black Ops 2, because we don't know what's going to happen. But anyways, hey, if you like it, like, subscribe, share. It helps. Next Wednesday, I don't know. I did a surprise one more so of this past Sunday of a recap part two, more structurized on Modern Warfare 2 multiplayer and how it can be improved. I'm not sure if Sunday, but next Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. is for sure another stream. So just stay tuned. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Leave me your ideas below on how would you introduce David Mason in Modern Warfare. If you're in agreement with mine, or a few changes, or does he have to be really introduced until Black Ops 2? So, or in Warzone, but how would you do it? That's the idea. So, anyways, I guess I'll see you next Wednesday for sure. I'm not sure on Sunday. Sunday was just because James didn't make a stream and I wanted to occupy his timeline. So, anyway, peace out.